Hey, it's Cam, Luke, Liam, Santa Maria. This is NBL Free Agency, Market Watch, Overtime, whatever we call it. All I know, Liam, is that I'm disheveled. My hair's all over the shop. News. Breaking, not here in Australia, Southeast Melbourne, Phoenix, Melbourne United last night. Bronny James. We're wearing the same jumper. It's all going on. I'm excited. I am pumped, as are Southeast Melbourne, Phoenix, because it was announced this morning. Alan Williams is teaming back up with Mitch Creek, and he looks like a big unit who's going to be a bully in this league, Liam.
Yeah, big, strong unit. Shout out to JD Sports for the jumper that we both happen to wear. Yeah, big signing from the Phoenix. We flagged the other day, interested to see where they landed with that center position, because they put some really good pieces together with the import backcourt, Brokoff and Creek. And Alan Williams, a high-level guy. I mean, he's a former NBA guy, has been getting numbers over in Russia the last couple of years, and they've been able to somehow find a way to bring him into the mix. No doubt Mitch Creek was a part of that, a former teammate, and they'd had some conversations, but it's an interesting signing. I mean, this guy's going to get a lot of boards. He is going to be a problem inside with his size and with his energy and his motor and how hard he gobbles those things up. But it is a little different to what I thought they were going to go for. I thought they were going to go for a lob threat and a rim protector, a 6'11" long kind of a sort of shape like that. This is different. Might be one of those situations where he becomes available, too good to pass up, and they just decide to go this way.
They've put together a crew that's all about winning that title, and they should be excited, because I think looking at the way they've been able to put this team together, Southeast Melbourne Phoenix fans are in for an absolute treat.
And what I find is interesting about this, the Perth Wildcats wanted Alan Williams. There's no doubt about that. They made some plays at him along the way. People got a sense of this on social media, who was following who and the like. That's because those conversations were well and truly taking place. Now, in the end, they pivoted to Tayshaun Thomas. What's interesting, the Phoenix, they were talking to Tayshaun Thomas earlier in the piece. So the Wildcats signed the guy the Phoenix were talking to. The Phoenix signed the guy the Wildcats were talking to. We've got some big bodies in this league.
The best thing about that is, Liam, for people like you and I who are neutral, we don't really care what jersey they wear as long as they're in this league. And they've both ended up here, and I think it adds to it. As does what has been a big week for Melbourne United. Our man Homicide, who said worst off season in the history of the NBL. They went bang, bang, bang. Jordan Caroline. Talking beasts, talking bullies, talking about a big, strong boy. He's another one who rolls in, and he'll be in Melbourne United colours.
Got some big boys coming into the league, some guys that are going to play really, really hard. And that they were trying to find a Jack White replacement, right? And he would sort of set the tone for them from an energy and a strength and an intensity perspective, the way he went about it. And Jordan Caroline's going to do that for these guys. It's 6'7". It's a 3-4. I think he's more of a 4-3 in the NBL, which is really what Jack White was and he was becoming. They were turning him into a little bit more of a small forward, but a big boy, high motor, high energy, high intensity. And what I like about it is he has all the tools to defend the elite power forwards in this league. The Xavier Cooks, the Mitch Creek, some of these other big, strong boys that have been signed as imports that are going to get some things done. So he's going to be good in that regard. Now, the shooting is the question. The shooting's the question. And what I find interesting about that is the shooting from the perimeter shooting, the three-point shooting, is kind of the question range on Tucker as well. Now, we know both these guys are going to get other things done. When they get downhill, they're going to be hard to stop when they're out in transition and the light, and this guy on the offensive boards. But we saw the shooting became an issue for Melbourne United down the stretch of last season in game 3 of that semi-final series with no Chris Golding, and nobody could knock down a shot. They've got a bunch of guys on this roster who are going to play really hard. You're going to really have to bring it when you play against Melbourne United. Can the shooting get to the level it needs to be?
Hey, we've been sitting around since the Jack Jumpers made a grand final. We're like, hey, this is a good roster. This is what's happening with Jets back, a couple of new imports. Will Magnay comes in. They did so much last year without the marquee player, so we just assumed he's right to go. Scott Roth, speaking to Kane Pittman at ESPN Australia, is kind of like, hey, you know what? And I'm paraphrasing here, but we have serious concerns about that knee being ready for opening night, and they're in the market for a replacement player. What are you hearing?
Well, it's disappointing to hear,
Absolutely.
isn't it? We were hoping that, all right, because you shut down Magnay early with the bone bruising, he'd have plenty of time and he'd be ripping and raring to go for the start of this season. Doesn't feel like it's the case all of a sudden, and they're not sure he's going to be right for opening night. I'm starting to worry this becomes an issue for them over the whole course of the season, and the specter of Will Magnay and the impact he could have might hang over them over the whole year. I hope that's not the case, but bone bruising in knees, especially with big guys, can become an issue. So yeah, they're in the market.
So
I asked Scott Roth, I said, hey, are you down the line with a guy here in terms of an injury replacement? He said, no, we're not. But I'd say next week, we've got a whole bunch of guys coming in. We've got some potential injury replacements. We've got like 20 potential DPs we're going to have a look at. So on floor in Tassie next week, they're going to have a look at some guys who could come in and help out.
Which is a cool opportunity, right? For a player who gets an opportunity that he may not have got previously, but they're not going to be Will Magnay. So it's going to hurt the team. And I say this after they didn't play him last year or didn't have him last year and they made a grand final. So it is a contradiction of terms, but it's like, geez, I thought Magnay and excited again to see him do his thing. All right. Oh, yes.
Oh, well, you mentioned that and you're right. Fabian Krislovic, Jared Bairstow, they did a great job in his absence. They're going to need to do the same, clearly. They also had they had Jock Perry.
Yeah.
The 7-foot DP. Now, remember, came out and played pretty well in some big moments last season. So they don't have him now because he's too old to be a DP spot, and they're going to have to make it work in a different way.
Free agents. What are you hearing? Give me something.
Give you something. Well, I don't know where this is at, but I mentioned Deng Akuth yesterday online.
Yeah, you did.
I'm hearing maybe there's a link between him and the Adelaide 36ers.
Okay.
Is on the cards. And the other thing I'm really taking a close look at is Cam Bairstow. Geez, I mean, we know the injury issues, but we also know how productive he can be and has been and always is when he's out there on the floor. And I'm just fascinated to see whether he gets picked up, what he wants to do, and how that plays out.
I think he'll get a game, right? This is what happens. Everyone says he comes in, he plays really well. Everyone's like, well, why is it the last guy signed? And unfortunately, it's because of his health and his body. That's the reason he's the last guy signed. And it's almost like leftover change, which sounds harsh towards a guy of his incredible talent. But that's the beauty or the reality of the whole situation, right? But I think he'll be in the NBL.
Hey, you got tongues wagging this morning with a tweet. Well, what's the go with this?
Look, I actually was talking to one of our foreign correspondents this morning, and he asked me who I was really looking forward to see in Darwin. I won't be in Darwin, I'll be watching via KO Freebies. And I said Adelaide, and he said, oh. And I said, and he said, he's hearing that Robert Franks has got a couple of pretty big offers from Europe. And I have no idea if he's got a Euro out or whatever it might be, but the question has been asked around Robert Franks, which would suck for, again, us, because I want to see him in Adelaide, but we'll see how that plays out. Have you heard anything?
That's interesting. I did have it whispered to me when I was in Vegas, EuroLeague interest in Robert Franks, and he does have a European out. All
right, it's interesting. We'll see how that plays out. It'll be disappointing. Again, I talk from you and I, Liam, as neutral fans who Adelaide have done a really good job. They got Mitch McCarron, who's psyched. I was reading some of his quotes. Of course, Antonio Cleveland, who all of us love. And then Franks, who did what he did last year. So we'll be disappointing. We'll see how it plays out. Where would it leave them? Like they'd have to. It's a quick little turnaround. Do you think that'd be? If it's been mentioned in Vegas, the odds are that Adelaide clearly have it on their radar. So they'd be kind of halfway into someone else, or at least a conversation. Do you think?
Maybe. I mean, a lot of teams always make sure they've got their bases covered. And the thing is, we're seeing a lot of high-level imports signed right now. Dean Vickerman speaks about how this is around the period of time when guys are on the fringe of the NBA, but are realizing, you know what, I'm not going to get that deal. I didn't get the two-way that I thought I was going to get. So there's high-level guys on the market right now, and if they have to pivot in that direction, they're going to have to try to tap into it.
Hashtag NBL free agency, market watch, overtime, whatever you want to do. Big shout out to JD Sports, who Liam and I wore the same jumper. We got him about 6 months ago, and here we are today on a Friday on a big news day in the NBL. Liam, hey, the huddle. I'm looking forward to Will McDowell-White. I did see you spoke to him yesterday, so make sure in the next couple of days you check that out via all the NBL socials. Until then, see ya.